We are back with some breaking news. This is the tape we told you about a few moments ago. Donald Trump in the Oval Office calling the testimony, sworn testimony under oath by his hand-picked chiefs of America's intelligence agencies, fake news. Watch.
Mr. President, did you talk to your intelligence chiefs today about the displeasure you had with their testimony?
I did, and they said that they were totally misquoted and they were totally, it was taken out of context. So what I do is I'd suggest that you call them. They said it was fake news, so which frankly didn't surprise me.
We just ran exactly what they said to Congress.
Excuse me. It didn't surprise me at all. But we're here to talk right now about China.
Not that he tells the truth about China either when asked, but let me just to see this in stark relief, let me show you some of that sworn testimony from the heads of the intelligence agencies earlier this week that he now describes as fake news.
We currently assess that North Korea will seek to retain its WMD capabilities and is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capabilities.
Is it the IC's assessment that this country's adversaries continue to use U.S. social media platforms as a vehicle for weaponizing disinformation and spreading foreign influence in the United States? Director Wray?
Yes, that's certainly the FBI's assessment. Not only have the Russians continued to do it in 2018, but we've seen indication that they're continuing to adapt their model and that other countries are taking a very interested eye in that approach.
Is Iran currently abiding by the terms of the JCPOA in terms of their nuclear activities?
Yes, they're making some preparations that would increase their ability to take a step back if they make that decision. So at the moment, technically, they're in compliance.
While ISIS is nearing territorial defeat in Iraq and Syria, the group has returned to its guerrilla warfare roots while continuing to plot attacks and direct its supporters worldwide. ISIS is intent on resurging and still commands thousands of fighters in Iraq and Syria.
Jeremy, so many moments in this presidency that justify just hitting pause and unpacking them. This is one of them. We just played the heads of the intelligence agencies describing North Korea as an ongoing nuclear threat. Donald Trump's version of events is that they're best friends. They send each other love letters. You heard Christopher Wray, Donald Trump's hand-picked head of the FBI after he fired his last head of the FBI, describing Russia's ongoing interest in meddling in our elections, something that was so effective, other countries now copying that conduct, and describing Iran. This is, to me, in some ways, most of the time, Iran in compliance with their obligations on the nuclear deal. Talk about the impact around the world of what we just played, Donald Trump calling all that fake news.
Well, and the president was caught in a horrible, awkward lie there in the Oval Office with that videotape that you just played, Nicole, because he said that he had directly asked his intelligence chiefs, you know, what's up? And they said, oh, we were misquoted, Mr. President. Well, of course they didn't say that. These are people of integrity. They would never have said that because, of course, they know they testified in public. What their testimony was live on television for all the world to see in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the entirety of the Congress. So it's a ridiculous statement that he would quote them saying. So, of course, they didn't say that. So all you have here is a president that is embarrassed. His tail is between his legs because the facts are undermining his fantasies. And here we have him not only eviscerating his own credibility, but the credibility of the people who have to go around the world and talk about security issues that keep many countries around the world safe. This is a really dark and dangerous moment, and I think it's time for the intelligence leadership of our country to stand up and publicly say, as Dan Coates did after Helsinki, Mr. President, you're wrong.
I want to play this again in case anyone missed that. Breaking news just in the last few minutes, some tape of Donald Trump calling the testimony from his own hand-picked appointees of the nation's intelligence agencies fake news. It's because it contradicted his fake analyses of the dangers posed by North Korea, Russia, and Iran. I'm going to play it one more time, Ron.
Mr. President, did you talk to your intelligence chiefs today about the displeasure you had with their testimony?
I did, and they said that they were totally misquoted and they were totally, it was taken out of context. So what I do is I'd suggest that you call them. They said it was fake news, so which frankly didn't surprise me.
We just ran exactly what they said to Congress.
Excuse me. It didn't surprise me at all. But we're here to talk right now about China.
Ron Klain.
Yeah, Karine earlier used the word authoritarianism, and I think, it's a very serious thing to talk about, but I think this is the key indicia of authoritarianism. The supreme leader tells you that no matter what you saw on television with your own eyes, you didn't actually see it. That only he speaks the truth, and all other truth is just false, even if you saw it yourself. I mean, this is right out of 1984. And, we say that often enough that it might seem cliche or trite, but I do think this is kind of a turning point moment where the facts and Donald Trump are in a hopeless and irremediable conflict, and where people have to believe, what are they going to believe? What they saw these intelligence leaders say on television, or the president telling them they didn't actually see it at all?
So, Karine, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I wish I could for some Republican lawmakers to come out and take a side. I mean, this is now it's exactly as Ron described it. This is now a battle over what the meaning of truth is. And you're right to invoke the illusion and sort of the patterns of an authoritarian. But Donald Trump, in his own words, has taken to his rally stage and said, don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear. Rudy Giuliani, his lawyer, has said, truth isn't truth, Chuck Todd. I mean, they're not even hiding the fact that they don't want us to believe the truth.
It's really, it's unbelievable. But here's the thing, Nicole. We know that Donald Trump is a liar. He's the chief liar, and he's like the chief liar of the presidency, and he never stops. And we know that we've been talking about authoritarianism. We know that he must think we're all idiots as well, because he doesn't think that we can just press the replay button and see what happened 24 hours ago or during the hearing, and see for ourselves with our very own eyes. And they were not just in a hearing in front of the committee, but under oath, and it just blows my mind. But what I get to with this, it just brings forth more questions. It makes you wonder and continue to ask, what is it that Putin has on him? What is going on? Every foreign policy decision that he makes is what Putin would want him to do. He's not telling his Secretary of State, he's not telling his Defense Secretary about interactions that he has with Putin. It just makes you wonder, what is going on? What is the compromise? What is happening here? Because it is truly, truly unbelievable every day, every moment of this presidency.
Well, you know what? He went back to his office after that tape turned around, and we played it, and he tweeted about it. I'm going to read that in 1 second. But, Jeremy, I want you to try to answer Karine's question. I mean, I asked Chuck Rosenberg once if the dossier didn't do a disservice, if we didn't chase sort of the sordid aspects of it, the tinkle tape, and lose sight of what could have been the more strangling kind of compromise. I mean, do you have any theories on the answer to Karine's question?
Well, look, as I've said here on this program, Nicole, many times, I think this is really a story about leverage. It's about political leverage and financial leverage that the Russian Federation has had over Donald Trump and his inner circle. And that leverage is clearly causing him to do some very strange things. They're mostly manifest in these crazy foreign policy decisions, like a hasty withdrawal from Syria, which handed Syria over to Russia's client, in undermining NATO, in resisting sanctions, in failing to criticize Russia for attempting to assassinate a former intelligence officer on the streets of the UK that the United States helped win the freedom for, taking the word of the KGB spy master in Helsinki over the word of our own intelligence agencies. All of these things are really part of a narrative about a foreign policy that is President Trump holding up his end of the bargain. The bargain was financially, we'll help you with Trump Tower Moscow, we'll help you we'll park cash with you over the years so you can build your real estate projects. Politically, we'll help you in the campaign. We'll help Roger Stone and WikiLeaks get these hacked emails out. And then the payback under the bargain that Trump had to hold up were foreign policy decisions, and that's exactly what he's doing.
All right, for all of your listening pleasure, I'm going to read you Donald Trump's live tweeting of the news coverage of his own accusation that this testimony from his intel chiefs was fake news. So we're going to guess that he turned on the TV and clarified. I just concluded a great meeting with my intel team in the Oval Office, who told me that what they said on Tuesday at the Senate hearing was mischaracterized by the media. Note to Mr. President, we aired it live. And we are very much in agreement on Iran, ISIS, North Korea, etc. Their testimony was distorted. I would suggest you read the complete testimony from Tuesday. A false narrative is so bad for our country. I value our intelligence community. Happily, We had a very good meeting, and we are all on the same page, exclamation point. Ron Klain, this is, trying to dig out before he's even done sort of digging his own hole and jumping in it. This is so schizophrenic, it almost makes the claim of fake news more mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, you said hole, Nicole. Obviously, the first law of holes is when you're in one, stop digging. And, that's just a giant shovel that Trump took out on those 2 tweets and proceeded to dig even deeper. I mean, he can't reconcile what these people testified live on television, we all watched it, with what he believes about Iran, North Korea, and other global threats. He can't reconcile it because he's not dealing with the truth. He's dealing with the talking points that Vladimir Putin has handed him. Secretary Clinton said in that last debate in 2016 that he would be Putin's puppet, and that's what's happening. And so he can't reconcile that with what his intelligence chiefs are saying under oath. And so he says it's fake news. So now he says we had a good meeting behind closed doors. We're all on the same page. It's not going to solve this problem. It's not going to solve the problem for him. It's not going to solve the problem for our country.
All right, after the break.